welcome our beloved viewers to RTD's News English Edition. As usual, we'll begin tonight's news with the major and top highlights. Visit of the president of the Chinese Medical Foundation called GX to the Peltier General Hospital, Ministry of Health. And on the international scene, we got a railway disaster in Greece, 32 dead and 85 injured after collision between two trains. Those were the major and top highlights. Welcome back to our newsroom, our beloved viewers. The meeting room of the Institute of Diplomatic Studies hosted today a conference on the cycle related to the war between Ukraine and Russia and its consequences in African countries. Organized by the Institute of Diplomatic Studies in partnership with the Institute of Mediterranean Foundation of Strategic Studies, the conference was co-chaired by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, and the French ambassador to Djibouti. The event brought together senior officials from public institutions and provided an opportunity to discuss and debate the challenges and opportunities for Africa. After a year of war whose consequences are global and on the context of the nature of the current cycle of resistance, as well as the implications of the global crisis for the countries of the continent. Speaking in turn, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mr. Mahmoud Ali Yusuf said that the most visible impact of the war on Africa is the increase in fuel and food prices, inflation, and financial instability. In its new episode, the Al Jazeera channel's program Liqa Al-Yom program hosted the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation government spokesman Mr. Mahmoud Ali Yusuf. In this regard, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs reviewed the diplomatic relations of the Republic of Djibouti and its efforts to maintain balanced relations with neighboring countries, based on complete neutrality and non-interference in the internal affairs of those countries. During this televised interview, His Excellency the Minister answered the questions of the journalist Muhammad Tawakkul about the role played by Djibouti to contain the tensions related to the resistance dam between the downstream and upstream countries, as well as Djibouti's position on giving Israel observers a statue in the African Union. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation also spoke about the relations between the Republic of Djibouti on the one hand and France, the United States of America, and China, and how it succeeded in managing the relationship with those three countries in light of international competition. It should be noted that the national television RTD Channel 1 and 4 will broadcast this full episode at 4:30 p.m. Under the chairmanship of the Secretary of State for Sports, His Excellency Mr. Hassan Mohammed Kamil, the organizing committee of the third Relations of the Senior Table Tennis Championship of East Africa held a final preparatory meeting at the Sheraton Hotel, in the presence of the various poles responsible for organizing the event. 14 countries, including Djibouti, should take part in these African Championships of Table Tennis, seniors, men and women, which will take place from 8th to 12th of March in Djibouti. The meeting was an opportunity to review and progress of work of various committees. It was also and especially the opportunity to discuss several issues of concern regarding the before, during, and after the championship. Several personalities, members of the organizing committee, have marked with their presence this important meeting. They were the Secretary General of the SES, Mrs. Khadija Ibrahim Idris, the President of the CNOSD, Mrs. Aisha Garad, the Director of Sports, Mr. Abshir Hassan, the President of the Table Tennis Federation, the Director General of the National Police, Colonel Abdurrahman Ali, and several other officials and members of the Secretary of State for Sports and the Press and Audiovisual of Djibouti. The president of the famous Chinese medical foundation called GX, Professor Chang Yiyang, who is visiting our country, went today to the General Peltier Hospital and was welcomed by the Director General of Peltier Hospital, Mr. Zakaria Ouled Ahmad, the Senior Advisor of the Ministry of Health, Mr. Abdelghader Mohammed Garad, and all staff of the hospital. A campaign of cataract surgery will be carried out by Chinese and Djiboutian specialty teams until March 22nd of this year. Within the General Hospital Peltier, it will continue in the interior regions. A parliamentary agreement has been reached between the Djiboutian government and the Chinese Medical Foundation GX. It aims in the medium term to eradicate throughout the territory of Djibouti the pathology of cataract, a major source of blindness in our country and counterproductive handicap to our economic and social development. The Djiboutian Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Roble Abdili, urges the Djiboutian population to come massively to take advantage of this medical and surgical mission. It is until March 22nd. Still at the Peltier Hospital, which held a Welfare Kits Award ceremony for patients at the cemetery today as part of the celebration of World March 8, which is a reminder of the fundamental rights of women. The General Hospital of the Republic of Korea has organized a special ceremony for women in the framework of the celebration of the World Day of on March 8, which consists in reminding the fundamental rights of the women. International Women's Day is celebrated on March 8 every year by women's groups around the world. It is also celebrated in many countries as a national holiday, when women from all continents, often divided by national borders and ethnic, linguistic, cultural, and economic and political differences, come together to celebrate their day. They can see, if they look back, that is a tradition representing at least 90 years of struggle for equality, justice, peace, and development. This year, the launch of the National Week of the World's Women's Day started with the granting of hygiene and wellness kits in the patients of the psychiatry of the Peltier Hospital. Throughout the Secretary General of Women and Family, the minister reaffirmed her commitment to support the Ministry of Health to further improve the care of these patients. Still in the national scene, the Colonel Wais Omar Bogore, the commander of the Djiboutian Coast Guard, received in his office a delegation of the Japanese Ship Owners Association, accompanied by its president, Mr. Junshiro Kiada, and also accompanied by members of a Japanese shipping company. The delegation was led by His Excellency Mr. Utsaka Umyo, Ambassador of Japan in the Republic of Djibouti. This meeting was an opportunity for a former contract of the commander of the Coast Guard took this opportunity to explain to the delegation the missions of the Djiboutian Coast Guard and the leading role it plays in the field of security and national maritime safety, but also in the Bab el-Mandab Strait in the Gulf of Aden. The discussion also focused on the assistance provided by Japan to the Djiboutian Coast Guard, both in terms of equipment throughout the donation of large patrol boats and throughout the training provided to the staff of the institution, which has helped to develop the operational capabilities of the Coast Guard. The delegation congratulated Colonel Wais Omar Bogore for the exceptional achievements of Djiboutian Coast Guard, which in a short period of time has established itself as a professional force with brilliant results. The meeting ended with an exchange of gifts and a photo immortalizing this unique occasion. Shifting focus to the complex of Al-Rahma of Balbala, which hosted yesterday's ceremony to honor the best students of the Industrial High School and the best trainees of the Vocational Training Center 2022 by giving them certificates and work kits, as well as the best students of the first semester of General Education, Primary, Middle School, and High School. Mahmoud Bilal Ali, in addition to senior officials from the Ministry of National Education and Vocational Training, were present, also in the Islamic Affairs and Endowments, parents, and honored students. Al-Rahma Development Complex, affiliated to Al-Rahma International Company, State of Kuwait, is interested in industrial education to help meet the needs of the local market for skilled manpower, especially in these fields of metal, welding, electricity, refrigeration, and air conditioning, carpentry, and aluminium, in addition to sewing, computers, and within the framework of 2 educational systems. The event culminated in honor graduates who achieved high marks in vocational training, as well as students who have excelled in academic achievements. A fire broke out this afternoon around 3 p.m., which damaged the house apartment occupied by 4 families on the street of Paris, not far from the Mosque of Hamoudi. The intervention was fast and efficient. In a few minutes after the intervention of the firemen, the fire was mastered. According to the information of the civil protection, the fire was caused by a house fire that spread in the whole apartment. There were no casualties apart from material damage, but precautions should be taken to avoid fires caused by house fires. Finally, more fear than harm following the fire of this afternoon in this very frequent commercial district. We can only congratulate the intervention of the police and the firefighters. We can only congratulate them for their services to our fellow citizens. Shifting gears towards the international scene now. We go to Greece, which is in shock. This Wednesday, March 1st, after the terrible train accident that occurred during the night, at least 32 people died and 85 others were injured after a firefight train collided with a passenger train with 350 people on board shortly before midnight. Several cars delayed a few minutes before midnight Tuesday north of the central city of Larissa in the Tempe Valley after a freight train collided with another train carrying 350 passengers. From Greece, back to Nigeria. Bola Tinubu of the ruling All Progressive Congress has won the presidential elections, the country's electoral body announced this morning. With more than 8.79 million voters, Mr. Tinubu won the largest number of total votes cast in the election, said Mahmoud Yankubu, chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission. Well, by this hour, beloved viewers, we finally conclude this edition. Thank you for being with us and make sure to tune in later for more. Have a wonderful evening. Take care.